administration is becoming very nervous about the upcoming No King's Day 2.0 protest this weekend because estimates suggest that up to 10+ million people could be marching across the globe now in over 2,000 events. This protest is only growing with each passing day. Millions of people are gearing up to take to the streets to march and make their voices heard. And now the administration is growing nervous. That's why you see Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, go on air today and try to say that Antifa is somewhat responsible for this protest, even though there is no connection with Antifa, a decentralized group, in any of these protests. And in fact, more and more administration officials, more and more people linked to the Trump administration are getting publicly anxious about the fact that you might have a record-breaking protest in the United States of America. Spread the word. I'll be there covering it live for you. So subscribe to my Substack at the link in my bio to support my work. Follow along to stay up to date on all the news that you need to know about.
All right, Trumpers, come and get me. Let's get some of this expensive ass gas from Donald Trump, because here's the thing. With his new tariffs that's going into play, the whole world's about to be in a shit show because, look, we got 100% tariffs going in on pharmaceuticals. You got 100% tariffs going in on foreign vehicles. You got 100% tariffs going in on movies being made. It's continuing to be a shit show. And now gas here in Georgia is almost $2.90. In Georgia. This is the South. I guess thank you, Donald Trump, for doing this. Yeah, it goes to show how incompetent we are. I can't believe anybody voted for this man. I really cannot believe it. I mean, the tariffs, destroying this country. Should be more free trade. But no, you put an incompetent president in there who only cares about his fucking ego and doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself. And I can't believe you people in America, you whack jobs, couldn't see that. So thanks for fucking us. Thanks for fucking America. Thank you.
You guys are going to have trouble believing this, but Donald Trump has chickened out once again on the world stage. He spent the past few months relentlessly escalating this trade war with the country of China in almost a cocky way, thinking that he would be able to get away with it. Now it's coming crashing down on United States farmers, on multiple industries that Donald Trump promised to help, and just today he sent out a wacky post. After escalating and placing 100% tariffs, he said, "Don't worry about China. It will all be fine. Highly respected President Xi just had a bad moment." Are you kidding, dude? You went on a schizophrenic meltdown and you're going to say that Xi had a bad moment. He doesn't want depression for his country, and neither do I. The USA wants to help China, not hurt it, President DJT. I've got a special gift for you all today. I'm going to bring in person, lead policy advisor Micah Irfan. Micah, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic.
You know, we have spent the past few days in deep debate prep, going over some stats, some resources, just doing a bunch of research to make sure we have everything we need for this next few months of debating. But in this video in particular, I want to dig into this China, debacle that Trump's gotten himself into. Can you walk people through the steps of what's happening? Yeah,
it's super interesting, Adam. So yesterday, Trump announced that we were imposing 100% tariffs on China to stack on the existing 55% tariffs we've already had imposed on them. And this was because China sent out letters to pretty much every single country in the world saying that they don't want to export as many of their rare minerals. They want to conserve those minerals for themselves. This was a shocking demand, 100% new tariffs on China as of November 1st. And he also said he doesn't think that we're going to continue to have meetings with them. There was a planned meeting in South Korea upcoming. That same day, he said, actually, we probably will meet with them, and we'll see how everything goes. This is just like the latest instance of the most incoherent trade relationship that we've had with China since the very beginning of Trump's presidency, where he continues to ramp up the pressure, make insane demands, impose sky-high tariffs, and then back off without getting anything for America.
He backs off over and over. Not only that, but he has this endless delay tactic where he'll make an announcement about tariffs, then delay it for 90 days or delay it again for 90 days, like in the case of China, and act like that's giving him some sort of leverage when it's actually rather coherent. And you don't know what effect it's having. Let's talk about the soybean farmers in America. Let's talk about the debacle between Argentina, the U.S., and China when it comes to soybean farmers. You want to break that down?
Right. So we are a huge exporter, or historically we were a huge exporter of agricultural products to China, because China does buy some of our goods, at least it historically did. And because of Trump's trade war with China, it absolutely destroyed our agricultural sector, including especially soybean farmers, which are an important constituency in Iowa. Trump should have known that this was going to be the effect of his policies because it happened in the first Trump administration. That's why we had to have a multi-billion-dollar.
So I want to make clear that I'm not doing it. I'm not participating in this Trump is the great peacemaker bullshit, signing this this peace deal in the Middle East. And I'll tell you why. First of all, even just assuming that this is the greatest peace deal ever, and that it will hold and it will be a lasting peace, which you'd have to be out of your mind to think that that's going to happen. This fucking thing is going to fall all apart like every other one of these Mideast peace deals do. But even if we just accept, for argument's sake, that it's the greatest peace deal ever, I'm not going to be one of those people who you see all over the place right now saying, well, whatever you think of Trump, and I don't like Trump, but we've got to hand it to him. You know, we got to give him credit for this. But I'm not playing that fucking game. I'm not giving him any credit for anything. Okay? I hope there's peace in the Middle East. I hope the killing stops. I hope all that's true. And if it is, that's great. But I'm not going to say shit good about this piece of shit. He is here destroying the country. He has ICE thugs, masked criminals on the streets all across this country, beating the shit out of people, kidnapping people, busting down doors in the middle of the night, dragging families out of their homes, zip-tying naked children in the streets. All of this stuff is happening. He violates the Constitution left and right on a daily basis. I'm not overlooking all that to say, oh, well, I got to give him credit here. Fuck that. And you know why people do that? Because they want to appear reasonable. Oh, I'm gonna put my disagreements with Trump to the side for a minute, and I'm gonna prove that I'm a big person. I'm gonna prove that I'm a reasonable person by taking a minute to pile on with the ass kissing here. No, sorry, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna overlook all of that to make some comment about myself about how reasonable I am. Look at me, how reasonable I am. Fuck that. Now, to the substance of this peace deal, like I said, you'd have to be out of your mind to think that this thing's actually going to be a lasting peace. It's not. It is going to be a temporary cessation in the violence, which is going to resume again at some point in the future, and probably in the not too distant future. And if it doesn't, guess what's going to happen to the Middle East? Guess what's going to happen specifically to Gaza? Donald Trump is going to move all of those people out of there. Get them the hell out of there. He's going to bulldoze the place, and he's going to put up golf courses and hotels. That's what he's going to do. That's what this is all about for him. You think Donald Trump gives a shit about ending the war or stopping the killing? He doesn't give a fuck about human life. He doesn't care about any of that. He only cares about this for the same reason he cares about anything else. Because what he sees as the benefit to him. And he's getting some of that benefit right now. He's getting people all over the place singing his praises. Oh, he's a great peacemaker. He should have gotten a Nobel Peace Prize. He wants all of that. But what he's really after is what comes next. I know you hear about all these phases, all these different phases to this peace deal. Yeah, none of those are going to happen. The next phase for Trump is getting all those people the hell out of there. That's what the next phase is. Getting them out, leveling the place, and putting up his fucking hotel and slapping his name on everything. That's the next phase of this. So sorry, count me out. I'm not going to be part of the chorus kissing his ass. Not happening.
Well, 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 take 23. I'm going to try my best to pour this tea for you, but I'm having a hard time, you see, because I can't keep a straight face. Hold on, I can't breathe. Well, 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 take 24. I have picked my composure up off of the floor. Now let me see if I can pour you this cup of tea. I hope it brings a smile to your face with the things that I have to say, Petey Kegsbreath's way. You see, Petey Kegsbreath and Daddy Dumpy Pants are very, very pissed today in a big, big way over that elite, we eat fighting force they sent Chicago's way. Yes, apparently the big man in Petey Kegsbreath too caught wind, stinky wind, friend, about those men that they sent into Chicago and how big-backed they were. And well, you know what Petey Kegsbreath has to say about a fat guy on any given day. And rumor on the street today is Petey Kegsbreath has sent them home expeditiously because they do not represent his idea of a military. And the rumor gets even deeper here, dear, because apparently he's threatening to send them home without pay today. So I just have to say to all those big back brothers he sent Chicago's way while you're on your way home today, may the fork be with you, brother. Oh, baby. Now, to all my freedom fighters out here in these internet streets that are embarrassing the shit out of Pete, I tip my hat to you. You know they say there's more than one way to skin a pig on any given day? Well, you know what I say to that. Chicharrones for everybody! Skin them pigs, baby, expeditiously.
Well, the village idiot today, Donald Trump, is in Israel, celebrating his role in genocide. Back home, his people are visibly panicking. They're rhetorically calm, but they're visibly panicking. I'm just going to move my microphone over, and I want you to listen to this clip from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. He's being interviewed on Fox News.
In fact, they are waiting for this No Kings protest. No Kings means no paychecks. No paychecks and no government. And Maria, I think the dirty secret here for why this has dragged on for so long is the Democratic friends in the mainstream media have been downplaying this shutdown. And this is getting serious. It's starting to affect the real economy. It's starting to affect people's lives. If in fact they are waiting for
So the narrative, and I heard this same narrative from Secretary of Transportation, who was a former congressman, who was a former reality TV show host on cable TV, who had a very difficult time keeping his pants on cable TV back in the day. He's Donald's guy in transportation. There was a clip of him as well that I noticed today, and he was, talking about how things are getting serious because Democrats are waiting for the No Kings Day, and Chuck Schumer is calling the shots, and only after No Kings Day they're waiting for then, and then they're gonna give in, magically give in, and the shutdown will go away, right? And that's in essence what Bessent is saying. That's the new line. They keep changing the narrative of what caused the shutdown and why Democrats are responsible. But now the new line is that Democrats are waiting for the Antifa-controlled No Kings Day, right? And after that, they're going to give in. After that, they're going to surrender to the village idiot Donald Trump, and they're going to give in. Now, the reason I say there's this sense of profound, if not profane, desperation from Republicans while the village idiot and some of his family members are in Israel is that they're getting blamed for the shutdown. Polling is indicative of that. It's clear that Republicans rightfully are taking the blame, and it's clear that the messaging is very simple. The Democrats really did well with the messaging. It's really fucking simple. Like, just don't throw millions and millions of people off healthcare. That's it. That's all you need to do. And then, we can open up the government. We can continue to fund the government. But Republicans keep changing their minds depending on what the village idiot, the genius strategist, tells them to do, and then leaves the country to go get celebrated and worshipped like the new Messiah in Israel. And they have to stay home and take the heat. So I think this sense of desperation that we're hearing from Trump dipshit officials is inspiring in a way because it means they're panicking. And it means that very soon, I would think, they're going to capitulate, they're going to taco out, and they're going to surrender, and Democrats will get everything that they demand, everything that the country needs, at least in terms of health care, and maybe even more than they were bargaining for, in a good way.
The Trump administration is lying to you. And over the past several days, Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance have listed at least 4 critical falsehoods that the American public need to know about. And it's up to the United States media in this moment to call out what we're seeing from the White House. because lies aren't a partisan issue. Lies are lies. And so let's talk about all 4 falsehoods that this administration has launched over the past 72 to 96 hours in an effort to distract you and the American electorate from what's actually happening in our nation. The first major falsehood is that over $17 trillion have been invested in the United States of America. On Tuesday of this week, Donald Trump told reporters that, quote, over $17 trillion had been invested in the United States since he took office on January 20th earlier this year. On Friday, he claimed that that number had, quote, just cracked $18 trillion. At first glance, that number is impressive. That claim would be very impressive for a president to bring in 17 to 18 trillion dollars in investments in the United States of America since Trump took office. But upon even just minimal scrutiny, Trump's claim falls apart. Because first, the White House's own website lists that there have been only about $8 trillion in total investments since Donald Trump took office. So let's slash that 18 million, 17 million to 8 million. That's a greater than 50% reduction in what the President of the United States told reporters just on its face. But even that $8 trillion is actually inflated because it includes commitments that came from Donald Trump's first term 10 years ago and several unfulfilled commitments that have come this term that are set to be fulfilled over the next several years, but may very well not be fulfilled. Many of the supposed investments are just pledges. They're not actually finalized projects, and others were initiated years ago or were already in motion long before Donald Trump took office on January 20th. Independent analyses by CNN and Midas Touch and others have reviewed these claims and found no credible data to support them, because the actual amount of new and confirmed investments under the Trump-Vance administration appears to be much lower than what the president has claimed. For example, $600 billion from, quote, EU firms, even though the European Union has made clear that this is merely an estimate of upcoming potential private investment. Or, quote, $1.4 trillion from the United Arab Emirates, even though this is just a vague pledge that is more than double the size of the entire gross domestic product for the UAE. Or $500 billion coming from India, even though that's the goal for bilateral trade, not Indian investment in.
Why did Miller do that the other day when he was talking to CNN and he said, well, as we know, under Title 10, if Trump invokes that, he has plenary power. And then Miller just stopped. But it wasn't a technical difficulty. Miller's eyes were still moving. It didn't go dead. Why did he just stop there? Well, maybe he had a brain freeze, which, by the way, I did once on a radio show. I completely forgot everything. I couldn't remember anything. My mind went completely black, and I'm just looking around my kitchen like, what am I doing here? So it can happen. It's only happened once, but like literally, I still am sitting there thinking, I'm on a radio show and I have no idea what to say next. There was a book tour probably 20 years ago. So maybe he just had a brain freeze. Or maybe he was playing to the one person who is his main audience. He is constantly on TV. Trump watches him, and he is feeding Trump these stories about how terrible the country is and how much power Trump has. And leaving that last word, plenary power, and then stopping, that's what everybody heard. That's what Trump heard. And that is clearly very much on Miller's mind. He desperately wants Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act, and that would give him the power to use the troops against the people that the administration is calling traitors, is calling un-American, is saying, they're now saying that anybody who speaks up against Trump is Antifa, which isn't even a thing. It's the idea that you don't want fascism. I guess I'm Antifa, right? And they're running this whole idea that there's this organized group of people who are somehow a conspiracy theory, which is just bonkers. I'm sorry, just bonkers. So that idea of getting Trump to agree to invoke the Insurrection Act is part of what's going on with these. They are clearly showing him videos of Portland in 2020 when he talks about boarded up plywood windows, for example. That was actually the case on the main square of Portland in certain places in 2020. It's not at all the case today. I mean, before the judge who just took on a case about the deployment of National Guard troops in Portland said, there were 20 people at the ice facility, and they were giving you the middle finger. That is not an insurrection. That's protest. There's just no reason to call out any kind of troops. So that whole concept of creating an insurrection and saying you can put troops on the streets because of that is, to go back to that question, very much about 2026. It is very clear to everybody that this administration is profoundly unpopular, and that when it goes, not if it goes, when it goes, we're going to look at an entirely new country. And so those people who are wedded to the idea of their ideology of Christian nationalism or of white nationalism in Miller's case, or even just of power, even just people who want to be making bank on this administration, as a number of them are doing everything they can to hold on to that power. And this is part of the whole attempt to keep the idea of there being an insurrection going on in Chicago or Portland. Why those cities? Somebody asked here, because Portland, I think they thought might be easy after 2020 to get people to turn out and create a situation that might look as if it were an insurrection. LA, similarly. Chicago, because it would be a real prize for Trump, because J.B. Pritzker is there, and because he has he resents J.B. Pritzker so profoundly. What is my take on the judge whose home exploded after she ruled against Trump? My take on the judge is she's a good judge. My take on her home exploding is we don't know. This is why we have investigations. It sure looks bad, but home fires, as anybody who has experienced something like that, I have not personally, I have seen one, knows they often behave in bizarre ways. All right, so I'm going to go here because it's time for go. I'm going to leave you here with what we can do about this moment. A lot of you picked up on me saying that you should pick me up on YouTube as well as on Facebook, because I am trying to be available in every possible place, just in case something happens to one of the channels. And by that, I mean,
this is the Brownstone Center News Update for Monday afternoon, October 13th, 2025. Let's go ahead and get some news and information for this afternoon, shall we? Amazon will hire 250,000 workers ahead of the holiday season, it said today, the same as the last 2 years. But the e-commerce giant seems alone in its hopeful outlook. Retailers overall could add fewer than 500,000 seasonal jobs this year, the lowest number since 2009, according to the Challenger. Gray and Christmas. Americans are reining in their spending amid tariff-related price hikes and a struggling labor market. Still, they're expected to spend more than $253 billion online in November and December, according to Adobe, 5.3% more than last year. Patrick James resigned today as CEO of First Brands Corporation, the auto parts supplier he actually founded, that's seeking bankruptcy protection amid questions over its accounting practices. James will be replaced on an interim basis by industry veteran Charles Moore, who was appointed Chief Restructuring Officer last month. Now, the Justice Department has reportedly opened an investigation into First Brand Auto, which acknowledges that $2 billion is unaccounted for after missing and raising billions of dollars off balance sheet financing. The company owes over $10 billion to some of Wall Street's biggest firms. The White House is talking about invoking the Insurrection Act that would allow the deployment of military troops on U.S. soil to quell domestic unrest amid legal challenges over the moves. J.D. Vance confirmed this yesterday on Sunday. He was asked on NBC News Meet the Press whether Donald Trump was seriously considering invoking the emergency power to deploy National Guard forces and even the U.S. military in domestic settings. The power was used during the 1960s civil rights movement during clashes over desegregation of the South, but since then has been rarely, very rarely activated. The last time a president called on it was in 1992 when the governor of California requested military aid from George W. Bush in response to civil unrest in Los Angeles. For more news and information that you can always use, head over to brownstoneworldwide.com, Cityscape Radio, and you guessed it, Brownstone Living magazine. Check out the Rivalry Report on YouTube at Brownstone Worldwide. We'll see you around.
Welcome to the neighborhood.